Okay, so in the last video we said I was gonna factor this out and show you what a perfect square trinomial looks like. Remember, trinomial is anything with three terms, okay, and we've got one, two, three terms, okay, and we're gonna call it a perfect square because when we factor this out, I'm gonna get two terms that are exactly the same. Okay, I'll get x minus 2 times x minus 2. That's what a square looks like because they're exactly the same, length times width. So let's factor this. We've got a 4 on top, a negative 4 on the bottom, and we've got negative 2 and negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Negative plus a negative is a big negative. Okay. Now, we mentioned in our last set of notes that if the leading coefficient is 1, which it is, that was actually one of our goals in the very, very beginning, to make this into a 1, okay, we said that if that's a 1, then we don't need to use the box. So that was our shortcut. We're going to use our shortcut now. X minus 2 times x minus 2. Now, if two things are exactly the same, I can write it once and square it. And that's what we did here. So that's what a perfect square trinomial looks like. Okay. Now, that takes care of step 4 to step 5, which is the beginning of completing the square. Okay. And if we add these two together, 3.8 plus 4, 3.8 plus 4 is easy, 7.8, pretty basic. Okay, so 3.8 plus 4, here it is, 3.8 plus 4.0, and we'll get 7.8. That's where I got this number, from these two being added together. Okay. Now, this looks a lot like what we did last class on Thursday, Friday. I got a perfect square over here. I got a perfect square over here. Okay. Now, when we have something that's a perfect square, we could just square root it because they are inverses. So I'll square root this side, and then the square root will cancel out the square. They'll go away. So when I square root both sides, we start on the left side, I'll just have x minus 2 all by itself, which is great. On the right side, I'll square root this. The only thing that really sucks about square rooting that right side is I have no idea what that is. I don't know what the square root of 7.8 is. But we'll leave it exact. We'll leave it that way, because that's what it is. But we're going to add in this plus or minus. Plus or minus. Because every time we get a square root, we always have a positive answer and a negative answer. So we'll have a plus or minus square root 7.8. Okay, that takes care of step 5, which leads us to step 6. Okay, we got two answers. We got one with a plus. That's this one, because this is the positive. And we got one with the negative. It's a different color. Here's the negative, and there it is. So we got two different answers. Now, if we have two different answers, we're going to need to solve each one. So let's solve each part of this question. Okay, and we will add 2 here, and we'll add 2 here, and we'll get, these are additive inverses, solving x, or the variable by itself. Here's that 2 plus square root 7.8. And on the right side, we'll do the same thing again. We'll still add the 2. We'll still add the 2. Now what you'll notice is even though we're adding, our answers are different because the sign in the middle is different. X by itself equals 2 minus, so here's a plus, so positive 2 minus square root 7.8. Okay, so that is our two answers. That's how we get this answer down there, and that's how we get this answer down there. Now that's a lot to be writing on slide 1. Okay, so a lot going on there. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see everything all together. Let's zoom out. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Okay, that's almost everything together, except for the last couple steps. Okay, that all should be in slide 1. Okay, a couple things we forgot to write in here, so let's write them in now. Let me zoom back in so it's a little bit easier. It's too much. There we go. Okay, so we did this one. We did step 4. Okay, here's step 4. I'm going to write this in as one of our things we need to do. we'll call this factor. Okay, so we're going to factor here. Well, that says factor. Okay, so step 4, sorry, the last one was a little unclear. We are actually factoring. Okay, and we expect to get a perfect square. Perfect square. Okay, after you factor, what we're going to do is we're going to do square root each side. Okay, and then last but not least, we're going to solve each instance. Solve each possible answer. Okay, so that takes care of slide 1. Now, slide 1, what we've noticed about Pearson is that it takes known knowledge that we have, and we just kind of build upon it. Okay, so slide 1 is always going to be kind of a hefty slide. It's a lot of things going on. It builds really well into what else is available to us based on what we've learned the last time. So expect slide 1s to be a little bit lengthy. Okay, so slide 2, so on your paper, move down to slide 2. I kind of split it in half, kind of like this. It says solve the quadratic equations by completing the square. This is what you should write in the section of your paper that says what it says, and we're gonna, on this side, this is what it actually means. Okay, that means we're gonna decode it into our own user-friendly language. Okay, so what does solve by completing the square actually mean? Well, that means we need to use a different method. I spelled that wrong. Use a different method, and that method is going to be completing the square. Not very much different than what we have written there. Okay, let's add a couple things in there that is unique. Okay, something that is a little different about what is written is we're going to find perfect square trinomials and factor. This is huge, the and factor part. And factor. I want this part bolded, but whatever. Okay. And factor to solve. So last time we did solving by factoring, and this is basically the same thing. We just need to find that perfect square trinomial first so we can factor. Okay, so that's what should be written in slide 2. Okay, now slide 3, it says work time, completing the square. Okay, we'll give you guys, let's say 1 to 2 minutes each, so 1.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 individual boxes there. If you're stuck, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve A, and then let's do C, and then F. A, C, well, A, C, E. So I'm going to solve 3 of these, and I'll put them on here really quick in case you get stuck, but B, D, and F are yours. Okay, so I'm going to solve a few of them. I'm going to solve A, C, and E. You're going to solve the rest. I'm going to solve them pretty quickly, so don't expect to sit around for them. Okay, so here's A, and here is C, and here is E. Okay, so let's find A first. Okay, so A, I'm going to solve this fairly quickly. I might pause the video, so follow along. This is kind of like your chance to get a teacher do, students do, etc. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, again, I want to move that C value. Move that C value. So -6 and -6. So that way the C value is gone, and I can make a perfect trinomial. Okay, x squared minus 6x equals negative 6. 0 minus 6 is negative 6. Now I need to add something here. Here's my b value, so I have negative 6, my b value, divided by 2 squared. Negative b, sorry, just b over 2 squared. So that equals negative 3 squared, and it's going to be equal to 9. So I'm going to add 9 here. I'm going to add 9 here. B divided by 2 squared. B divided by 2 squared. Okay. I'll simplify the right side because that one looks pretty simple. 9 minus 6. 9 minus 6 is 3, and that's going to be equal to whatever this is. I'll Xbox that. 9 on top, negative 6 on the bottom. That looks like negative 3 and negative 3. I will have x minus 3 and x minus 3. Now, if I don't have exactly the same thing, I did it incorrectly. Okay, so I'm going to put these together. I'm going to rewrite this as x minus 3 squared equals 3. And I'm going to square root each side because I have that square. So I'm going to get rid of the square, do it both sides to keep it equal. Okay, and I'm going to have x minus 3 equals plus or minus square root 3. Okay, now this takes me to about step 6 in the last video. I'm going to have two answers. X minus 3 equals positive square root 3. And then I'm going to have x minus 3 equals negative square root 3. One with a plus, one with a minus. Solve each one. I'm going to add 3, going to add 3. Now these are not like terms, so I'll keep them separated. X equals 3 plus square root 3. Okay, this one's going to be plus 3 again, plus 3 again. Again, these are unlike terms, so I'm going to keep them separated. So x equals 3 minus square root 3. 1, 2. Okay, so C. Question C. There's a space in your paper for this. Okay, now what you'll notice is I don't have to move that C value. There is no C value there. Okay, there is nothing here. So I'm going to skip to around step 4. Okay, and I'm going to get this B value. Here's at 14. I'm going to divide it by 2, and I'm going to square it. That's going to be equal to 7 squared, which is 49. That's what I'm adding to both sides. I'm going to add 49 and add 49 to both sides. Okay, so I'm going to have x squared plus 14x plus 49 equals 15 plus 49. Let's see, let's line these up. 5 plus 9 is going to be 4. Carry the 1, 64. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's a perfect square. So what I'm going to factor this side. Remember, this is a coefficient of 1. That's what I want. So I'm going to have 49 and then 14 on the bottom. That's going to be 7 times 7. So I'll have x plus 7. X plus 7 times x plus 7 equals 64. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these together as one. X plus 7 squared equals 64, and I'm going to square root each side. Okay. Square root this side, square root this side. Nice thing about this one is I actually have an answer. So I'm going to solve this side. I'll have x plus 7 equals plus or minus 8. Now I still have a plus or minus, positive or negative, so I'll have two answers. X plus 7 equals positive 8, and then I'm going to have the negative answer, x plus 7 equals negative 8. I'll minus 7, I'll minus 7, okay, I'll solve x equals negative 15. The same thing here, minus 7, x equals 1. Okay, one answer, two answers. Remember, these are roots, solutions. Okay, x-intercepts, they're on the x-axis. Okay, I'll finish C on the next video. I might just show the work so I can move through this a little bit faster.